Hey book nerds, welcome to my channel. Today I have a giant unhaul for you. I'm not going to do much of an introduction because I'm sat next to like 40 or 50 books. I am moving out soon. My bookshelf was a complete mess. I have now sorted out my bookshelf, and as a result I'm getting rid of lots and lots of books. I'm not really going to give reasons for any of these because it's the reason that I'm going for all of them. Most of them are my childhood books. They're books I'm not going to reread, they're not books I have particularly strong emotional attachment to, so I'm not going to keep. So yeah, we're just going to go through and have a nice big clear out. First one is Prom Nights from Hell, and it's an assorted collection of short stories about paranormal romance prom nights. You can guess when this book was published, and yes, it was around the Twilight era. I enjoyed this at the time. I don't really remember any of the stories. I think they were quite good actually. So if you enjoy paranormal romances, it might be worth checking this out. I'm not going to read this again though, I don't need to keep it. Next, that I didn't even read, Alan Sugar, The Way I See It. At one point I was clearly interested enough in Alan Sugar's opinion on things to buy this book. I also have another book by him in this pile, but yeah, I don't want to read the opinions of some guy now. It's not who I am as a person. Next we have Your Dreams Interpreted. This was a fun book when I was like 10 and I used to pretend to read my friends' dreams. Don't need it now. The next one might be a bit of a controversial one, and that is The Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy by Douglas Adams. I was not the biggest fan of this book. It's not for me. I know loads of people love it and it's considered one of the best sci-fi books ever, but I just couldn't gel with the nonsensical plot, and yeah, I don't need to keep the physical copy. Next one was a tough one and I still might keep it, but I know I should really unhaul it, and that is 13 Reasons Why by J. Asher. I do really like this edition. It's as shiny as you can see and it's got like a little nice back and stuff. It looks like a tape recorder. My feelings towards this book are complex. I don't like Hannah at all, and I think it's an interesting portrayal of depression and suicide because I don't think it's inaccurate, but at the same time I think it has some kind of unfortunate implications perhaps, which is a discussion for a different time, but I'm pretty sure I won't keep this. It was a very good book and it meant a lot to me at one point, but I never really loved the story and I don't think I should just keep it. Again, we have two books I never even read, and that is Under the Never Sky and Through the Evernight by Veronica Rossi. These are part of the dystopian period of time where dystopian books were huge. I read Hunger Games. I didn't really read any others. I did read the Divergent series, but I bought these on a whim because they were in a deal and they have these gorgeous covers and they are beautiful. They're about a girl who lives in a world where there's like a giant dome and she meets a boy and then they like escape the dome. But yeah, I never read them. I'm not gonna read them now. Ooh boy, this next book brings back memories. It is Beautiful Disaster by Jamie Maguire. This is one of the first blog posts I ever did on my blog, which has been going since 2013, even though I've not tried to promote it in any way, shape or form. I guess I'm promoting it now by doing booktube, but I've never really done much with my blog. It's always been for personal use. This book is terrible. It is really, really bad. I will post my old blog review if you want to read me ranting about this book in detail. It was written in 2013 and I was a lot saltier back then, as a heads up. But this is a romance book about a bad boy and a good girl, and it's really bad. The boy's called Travis, he's got tattoos, he's like a cage fighter. The girl's called Abby, she literally wears pearls. It's horrible, abusive relationship type stuff. If you like that kind of book, you'll love this one. There's a whole series of them. I read them all because sometimes you just have to hurt yourself. And yeah, I'm It's almost weird to let this book go, but I'm gonna let it go. The next one is also tough because this is When You Were Wine by Rebecca Searle. This book I have given 5 stars on Goodreads, but again, it's one I read in like 2013. I think I have a blog post about it as well. And I loved this book at the time. It's essentially Romeo and Juliet in the modern day, but it's told from the point of Rosaline. So she's like in love with Romeo and then he just goes off with some other girl. I might reread this before I unhaul it because I'm curious what my updated opinion is on it, because at the time I loved it, but I was like, I don't even know how old I was. So yeah, I'll probably reread this before unhauling it, but I should unhaul it because it is taking up space I don't have. The next book I know I've read, but I remember almost nothing about it, and that is Shift by M. Bailey. So this is about a girl who used to be the queen bee and isn't anymore, and then her old best friend makes friends with a new girl who attends the school, but she thinks that the new girl might be a killer, and she's kind of started weirdly taking over and dressing like her best friend and stuff. It's got a really cool cover. I really don't remember anything about this book. It was probably enjoyable at the time. I think the author wrote something I read recently that I really liked. I think they wrote the special ones, which was very enjoyable. But yeah, I don't need to keep this. I feel like so many of these books tell like the literary history of young adult trends and stuff, and this one is The Future of Us, and it's by Jay Asher and Carolyn Mackler. And this is about 2 teenagers who get sent a free AOL CD in the mail, which automatically dates this book. And then they find, to be fair, it's set in 1996, it wasn't written in 1996, but then they find out that they log on and there's Facebook, which doesn't exist in that time period, and they find out what their lives are going to be like on this Facebook. And I remember it's told in 2 chapters, so it's got like Josh and Emma, and it's written by 2 authors and they each write one. I don't think this was very good. I think it was kind of mediocre from what I remember. I do like the cover, but again, I don't need to keep this. The next one is a tough one, and I wouldn't be unhauling it if I didn't own an ebook version of it, and that is The Stuff of Nightmares by Mallory Blackman. This, I loved it so much. It is on the younger side of young adults, so I don't necessarily recommend it if you're like an adult watching this, but this was great when I was younger and I was into my horror stuff. So this is about, there's a class of, a school class, and they go on this train, and then the train crashes, and our main character has death stalking him through the carriages. So to escape death, he has to go into the minds of his classmates, but they're all having nightmares about their worst fears. So he jumps into their head, and it's like short horror stories. And he basically learns more about them, and sometimes they're set in the future and he doesn't know if that's what's actually going to happen to the planet or if it's like just a nightmare. And it's just super interesting. I really enjoyed this book. I did reread it again last year, I think. And like I said, it is a kid, it's not a young kid's book, but it's not an adult reader book. But I do have quite strong sentimental value. And if you know any like kids in your life who enjoy horror, I would not recommend this more. It's a really cool structure for a book, and it executes it really well. Next we have the 3 Wolves of Mercy Falls series books, so that's Shiver, Linger and Forever. I was never a big fan of these. They are beautiful, I really do. I like all of these editions. So that's Shiver, that is Linger, and that is Forever. These were werewolf romances. I just found the main characters really, really dull. They were like the least interesting thing about the book. And I liked the cool werewolf concept, and I liked what the story did, but I don't really remember a lot about them. I know I'm not going to reread them ever. And as much as they are beautiful books, I can't just keep a book because it's beautiful, so I will be getting rid of them. The next book, I'm not sure if I read it or not. It is 21st Century Dead. It's an anthology of zombie stories. I think I maybe tried to read this and I wasn't a massive fan. But yeah, I do enjoy my zombie fiction, but I have to be in the mood to read a zombie book, and I've got loads of zombie books on my TBR that I will read when I'm in that zombie mood, so I don't need to keep this. It's a pretty cool anthology, but yeah. The next book is Poison Heart by S.B. Hayes. I think S.B. Hayes has written some thrillers. I could be wrong, I could be confusing the names. This is like a young adult thriller, fantasy kind of thing. It's mostly thriller, it's just there's potentially fantastical elements in it. And it's about a girl, and there's a new girl at school who's trying to ruin her life. It's very similar to the Shift that I described, actually. Yeah, you can tell it's got all the hallmarks of the thrillers I enjoy now. So it's about like two girls messing with each other psychologically, but it is a young adult book. I don't remember it enough to have any kind of attachment to it. The next book is another one I tried to read and didn't enjoy, and that is I Am Number 4 by Pittacus Law. I know these books were really big for a while. Again, it was kind of around the Hunger Games dystopian type period, but I tried to read this and didn't enjoy it. I didn't get very far. My partner actually said that they read all of these and really liked them, but I'm not going to read them now, so it goes. Next book is another one that I might reread before I unhaul, and that is Hate List by Jennifer Brown. This sounds really interesting, and I know I've read it, and I don't remember it being particularly great, which is annoying because it still sounds so interesting to me. But it's about a girl whose boyfriend commits a school shooting, and essentially she feels all this guilt because they created this hate list together of people in their school that they hated. They were both kind of like outcasts, and he killed all the people on that list that they made together, and it's kind of about the aftermath of the school shooting. This is an interesting book, actually. Like, size wise it's very odd and it's very thick. I think it's like, it has got fairly big print, and it's got no page numbers, which is not helpful. But yeah, I might reread this. I'm still curious, but I know that it's not very well received from looking on Goodreads, and I should probably just get rid of it. Next we have another potentially controversial one, and that is Ender's Game by Orson Scott Card. Again, Ender's Game is a sci-fi story. It's about this boy called Ender who is a boy genius, and he's set in this world where humanity's at war with these aliens. He gets recruited to be part of this space army thing. This book was alright. I kind of liked it. Not a huge amount, but thought it made some interesting things. I have no real interest in rereading it. It's a fairly well known book, so I'm sure I'd get it from the library if I did want to reread it. And yeah, I don't need it. The next book is one I got fairly recently, as are the rest of this pile for the most part. We have The Creeper Man by Dawn Kurtagich. This is And Then the Trees Crept In America. They're the same book, they've just got different titles. This was super disappointing. I read this in October. It's one of the first books I talked about for my channel, I believe. And yeah, it was just, I didn't like it. I'm not going to reread it. I don't want it taking up space on my shelf, which is a shame because it's a really cool edition. But yeah. The next book is We Were Liars by E. Lockhart. I hauled this fairly recently. Read it, it was alright. Again, I don't need to keep it. People will enjoy it more than I do. It didn't cost me much. I can't afford the space. The next book I don't really remember. I know I've read it and my mum also read it and she really liked it. She read it quite recently, but that is Inside Out by Terry Truman. This is about a boy with schizophrenia who gets caught in like a robbery at a coffee shop, I think. And he's like being held hostage, but he's got schizophrenia and that causes problems for him. This is a tiny book. I got this years and years ago. I'm not going to reread it. It doesn't take up much space, but you know. The next book is a real disappointment. It was Alice in Tumberland by Tim Manley. I thought this was a collection of short stories about like classic books with modern technology in it. It is not. It's like a humour book, and it's alright, but the stories are like that long, so they're basically paragraphs. And it was entertaining, but it's the kind of thing, you know, it's not a proper the book really. It's like a humour book kind of thing. I'm annoyed because I paid quite a lot for this relative to how much I normally spend on books, and it wasn't what I thought, and I want to get rid of it because it just makes me sad. The next book is a thriller. It is Shocking Pink by Erica Spindler. This is about three teenage girls, and they look through a window and they see a man and a woman having weird sex. And then they think she's gonna die, so they contact the police, but the woman is already dead. And then it's years later and they return as adults to this town and weird thriller things are happening. I know I read this, I don't remember how good it was, which means it probably wasn't that good. It was an alright book. It's a huge thriller. It's like 500 pages, which is just too long for a thriller. The author is pretty good, but I've read it. I don't think I'm going to reread it. Next one is also by Erica Spindler, and that is Don't Look Back. It's another thriller. I don't think I read this one. A woman leaves her hometown because she's accused of murdering her sister, and then she returns to try and find out who did murder her sister. Again, it's too long. It's like 450 pages, this one, but Erica Spindler's writing was okay. I'd rather read it as an ebook if I do end up reading any more from her. And yeah, I don't need this. And the final of the paperbacks is these three books by Jill Mansell. I did haul these, I think, in October. I bought them because I got all three for 10p. They're brand new, they're not secondhand. But they're all romances, they're all adult romances. I predicted then I wasn't going to read them. I haven't read them. I don't really want to read them. My mum might read them before I get rid of them, but yeah, there is Making Your Mind Up, Perfect Timing, and Whose Company. So, yeah. Whew. Now we have the hardbacks. There's only a couple of these, so don't worry. The first four are all part of the same series, and it's I don't know what the actual series is called, but it's the Hush Hush ones by Becca Fitzpatrick. I read Hush Hush, which is one of those paranormal romances about fallen angel. Hush Hush was actually alright from what I remember. It probably would not hold up now if I read it now, but I enjoyed it. I read it a couple of times. The second book is Silence, and I think I read this one, but I don't remember it. And then I kind of kept getting them for Christmas or birthdays, and I was kind of too polite to say that I didn't really want them anymore, so I got Crescendo and Finale. They are beautiful. I feel like someone would really like them. These two have never been read. They're in pristine condition. The other two are also in pristine condition because I always look after my books. Yeah, so there's no point me keeping them when I'm not going to enjoy them. I haven't said, by the way, but I'm trying to give them to a library, but I don't think I can actually do that. So if I can't give them to a library, I'm going to give them to a charity shop. On with the books, we have The Sealed Letter by Emma Donoghue. I don't know why I bought this. I forgot I'd ever seen this book before. I thought it was a thriller. It's not. It's like a historical romance type thing. The next book is beautiful, and I almost don't want to let go of it. But it's the Twilight Saga, the illustrated guide. So I have all my Twilight books. I'm keeping my Twilight books for now because I have emotional value, sentimental value attached to them. This is like a guide to the series, and it's really well done. It's got illustrations in it. It's beautiful. It's really heavy. It's a heavy book because it's got photo paper in it rather than normal paper. So I don't know. I probably should get rid of this. Realistically, I'm not going to look at it, but also I need to think about this one more. I also need to think about this next one because it is 1Q84 by Haruki Murakami, and I bought this book on a whim because it looked cool and it's big and it was cheap for what it was. Murakami is my partner's favourite author, or at least it used to be my partner's favourite author. I've not read this book. They already own a copy of this book, otherwise I would have just given it to them. But I've read Norwegian Wood and I really liked it, and I might read this book someday because it did sound cool. It's like I don't even know what it's about anymore. It's like alternative stories intertwining, and it's like a parallel universes thing going on maybe, but I think I should get rid of it because I can just read my partner's version as well, but I don't know, there's something about it I'm not 100% sure on. And the final book, as promised, is Alan Sugar's other book, the autobiography. I don't know why I bought this. Apparently I was really interested in Alan Sugar at one point, but yeah, not anymore. So that is all of the books I'm going to unhaul. Yeah, I hope you enjoyed this video. I'm really pleased to have more space now. If you did enjoy this video, give me a thumbs up, it helps me out massively. Thank you so much for watching, and I hope to see you next time.